Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Larzi, host of the Leaders Out podcast. Today, I have another back-to-back, an incredible guest, my new dear friend from the UK, Mr. Trevor Gordon. We got connected about a month ago. We had a powerful chat, and then we did the first episode about 2 weeks ago. And now episode 1 was very fascinating because we talked about a few issues, such as some of your work, about guns, about the prison system and all that. But in this episode, I want to really talk about getting to know you first as a man, as a human being, and then we'll talk about your business. But before we start, first of all, welcome to the show again, my friends. A pleasure having you. Welcome back.
Payman, bless you, and thank you so much for having me back. It is an absolute pleasure to be on your platform.
Pleasure's all mine. So for people who don't know you, tell us. Again, we're going to talk about your business and all that later, but as a man, as a human being, who's Trevor? In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, Trevor is a man who happens to be black. He's not a black man. My color doesn't define me. I love it. It is a part of me, but it is not entirely me. I've had to live my life through a racial lens, being a black man grown up in the United Kingdom who came here in 1961, part of the Windrush generation.
Wow.
I define myself as a man who happens to be black because there's a lot to me. There's a lot to me. It's not defined by the color of my skin. But as I said, Payman, I'm very proud to be black.
Rightfully so, absolutely. We're going to dive deeper into that, getting to know you. So first of all, I'm going to start with a rapid fire series of questions to further get to know you. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy is my work. What makes me happy is I feel blessed. I feel like a professional footballer because God has blessed me. I was trained to be a lawyer, then became an academic, and then set my company up. I'm blessed because I do equality, diversity, and inclusion. And I've been blessed to have taught and interacted and trained and lectured over 200,000 staff in my 28-year career doing it. And it's a blessing. It's a blessing to know that I get paid to make people better people. It's a blessing to know that I get paid to challenge people's discriminatory views, their sexism, their racism, misogyny, discrimination towards the disabled and people who are LGBTQ. I feel blessed to, God has blessed me to have had the career I had because I did not wake up one morning and decided I wanted to be an ED&I consultant or be one that was so successful. I don't blow my trumpet enough, but I've been very successful. I've lectured to huge audiences in universities. I've traveled all over the world and I've made a difference. I've changed people's lives. I've helped people to change. And even the ones who I couldn't change, I challenged. And they have to go away and live their lives through that particular lens of knowing that they were challenged and that their views and their opinions and their actions are wrong. So I'm blessed in that I've had the most wonderful job. A lot of people say to me, well, you know, do you miss not being going on to be a barrister? Not really. I only miss the money. I'd have made a lot more money if I'd have stayed as a barrister. But I'm still very happy with what I have made in terms of being a consultant, and it's enabled me to have a wonderful family, educate my children, give my wife all of the things that she deserved to have, God rest her soul. And that's what really makes me happy. What makes me happy, I realized it the other day when I did a training program for some really good friends, Portland Training in Sheffield. And when I went and stood in front of them, those 50 people, I realized this is what you do, Trevor. This is what you are blessed to do, to change people, to challenge people, and to make a difference in their lives, to make the world a better place. Payman, I believe that if we all do a little, a lot gets done.
Absolutely.
it's not about one person doing a lot. It's about all of us doing a little. And when all of us do a little, something wonderful happens. That's the nature of humanity. We are a collective species. And
Absolutely.
I'm doing my little bit. And I hope that what I do is impact on other people to do their little bit. And when we all do a little bit, we make the world a better place.
Beautiful. Love that. Love that. You're really speaking my language. It's exactly what these are also my beliefs and my values and all that. So we're on the same page. Now, what makes you smile?
What makes me smile? What makes me smile is my granddaughters.
Oh, yes.
My daughters, they make me smile. My granddaughters make me smile. Yeah. Up until recently, my ex-partner made me smile. Yeah, that's really what makes me smile. My sister, my father, my brother, they make me smile. And my friends make me smile.
Absolutely.
I'm blessed to have three wonderful daughters, three wonderful granddaughters. I get along so well with my siblings who are based in America, and I go out there for 2-3 months a year. I lived in America for 12 years. And I just feel, yeah, they make me smile. But I think now the thing in my life that makes me smile the most is my faith. Because without my faith, I don't know where I'd be.
Absolutely.
I don't know, I'd come off the rails, I might have gone to prison, I might kill somebody. So at the moment, my faith makes me smile. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love that. Love that. Now, let's take the happiness factors a couple of notches higher. What sets your soul on fire? What makes your heart sink?
What sets my soul on fire is the passion I have to see a better world. A world where the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. A world where women are not subject to misogyny and sexist practices. As I said, 3 daughters, 3 granddaughters. A world that eliminates homelessness.
Oh,
A
yes.
world that eliminates poverty. A world that eliminates people wanting to flee to Europe under the impression that they're going to get a better lifestyle, because they're not. A world where politicians are not corrupt. A world where we value water. A world where we stop polluting our beautiful seas and our oceans. A world where wealth is more evenly distributed, where the top 1% don't control 93% of all of the resources. Because at the moment, we're in a mess. And my dream is to pull us back from the brink, because I believe humanity is on the brink of self-destruction through the pursuit of greed and materialism. And we've lost our sense of purpose as to who we are and what we are. And that's it. Might all sound quite utopian, and this might all sound pie in the sky, but that's what sets my heart on fire.
Love
to
that.
see a better. I don't mind people being rich. I just think that I don't understand, Payman, the mentality. If I had £1 billion, I wouldn't be looking for another one.
Yeah.
And not only that, common sense tells me I can't spend £1 billion. So why aren't I helping people? I just don't understand the wealth creators and the people who just want to have more and more and more and more and more, and they can't spend it. No, nobody can spend $10 billion or you can't spend it. You can't spend it. Because the interest, it's so, I don't understand that mentality where somebody wants to continue going and going and going and going and going. And then what happens is they die. No, money is what money does. So the money does is the money thing. If I am blessed to have that kind of wealth, then I am obliged to bless others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're speaking my language, brother. You're speaking my language. Preach. Absolutely. Now, what would you say what scares you?
What scares me is, can I be honest?
Please.
What scares me is getting old and being by myself. I lost my wife 12 years ago. I was married 31 years. I think the biggest thing that scares me at the moment is being single. And I would love to meet someone who, you know, I could share the rest of my life with. So my biggest fear at the moment, it is a fear. And, you know, fear, false evidence appearing real. And it is a fear. But it's one that I hold, and I would like to spend whatever I've got left. As I said, I'm 65. I'd like to spend whatever time I've got left,
Wow.
just enjoying my life with someone, you know, traveling, theatre, dinner, you know, doing all the things that you want to do, and just being there for them and them being there for me.
Yeah.
And it might sound ridiculous. And the thing is, you know, I don't look 65, I don't act 65, I'm healthy,
No. Yeah.
I'm proud of myself, so there's no reason why. My daughters say I'm a bit fussy, but it is what it is. But that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is that I'm going to grow old alone, basically.
You know, the universe, God will bring the right people for us at the right time. In order for one person to appear, you need to clear the room for someone else that was lingering behind. And
Yeah.
once you do that,
Mm.
by divine guidance, that person will come into your path. You mentioned 60, you're 65. I would have never guessed that. You don't look a day older than 46, 47. That's not a compliment, it's an observation.
Bless you. Bless you, Tony.
Seriously.
I get told it every day. You know, I'm in church with my daughter on Sunday, and my daughter introduced me as her father, and you know, people are just amazed. I bless God. He's given me youth and health, and I don't abuse it. I go to the gym. I look after myself. I
Good.
work out. I eat. I make sure I eat the right diet. I do look after myself because I bless God for this temple. I bless God for this body.
Absolutely.
And I see so many people abusing that. I've buried too many friends in the past 5 years who have abused their bodies. So I give God the glory for how I look. And I know that you are so right, Payman, that eventually I have faith that the right person will come into my life so that I can share the wonderful life that I have, what I've done, and what I can do. I'm a good man, and I'm going to hold out for a good woman.
Absolutely. You keep doing what you're doing. You keep doing good around you and blessing others, inspiring, empowering, uplifting others. You know, one thing I notice is that people are watching you from the sideline, even if you may not realize it. The right people are watching you. So you keep shining your light, and eventually that light is going to find you, that you're second half. Seriously. I've experienced that. A man like you cannot remain single for a long time. You know, you're a true catch in every sense of the word. Any woman would be blessed to have a gentleman like you in their life. I'm not blowing your trump, but I'm just, you know, telling you the truth, you know, your trumpet. But seriously, you will rest assured that you will find the right woman and do divine timing. And you just keep doing what you're doing, keep doing good out there. And people are watching you, people, the right people, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My number one superpower, I would say, is resilience. I'm resilient. You can knock me down and I get back up. You can knock me down again and I'll get back up. You can keep knocking me down as long as I got strength, I'm going to get back up. I am. Payman, I don't think I can cure racism in my lifetime. I don't think the world will ever cure racism as such because of its historical root in capital and capitalism, and how the exploitation based on what we term races, because there's only one race, it's the human race, divided humanity, as Jane Elliott has said, so that it's convenient for one group to think they're superior over another. And what I have is resilience to deal with the hate, the racism, to bounce back and to not let it do what I've seen it do to so many people, which is to wear them down, destroy them. I grew up with low self-esteem because of racism.
Mm.
And because what it does is it de-skills you, it demoralizes you, it devalues you, and eventually it destroys you. And I
Absolutely.
refuse to let any of that happen to me. I've suffered some terrible racism in my life. I never forget that saying, there's only one thing worse. And I will use the N word, forgive me, I will. I understand, I know the etymology of the word. If other people would like to take time to find out, contact me. The only thing, and I've learned this, it was said, I heard somebody say it, yeah, there's only one thing worse than an uneducated nigger, and that's an educated nigger. I'm resilient, Damon.
Mm. You're a tough cookie. I can see that. You've gone to hell
Yes,
and back multiple times, you know?
yes.
Just like I was having a conversation earlier today, just before this call, another wonderful lady from the UK. You know, sure, we all go through a fair share of pain, heartbreak, betrayal, discrimination, racism, trauma, disease, tragedy. Sure, it hurts a lot when you go to them, but then those become your story. Then your story becomes your gift. Then your gifts become your duty and responsibility to share them. From my humble understanding, since I had my awakening, is that yes, life is a school. We come here to grow, become better, wiser, and all that. But that's only 5% of what we are here. The 95% is taking those gifts, those wisdom, those experiences, share them with others to whatever mean is more comfortable for you. For me, is to speak in my podcast and my books. Someone else might be through teaching, through arts, painting, sports, musics, arts, whatever. Find your outlet. Find what's more comfortable for you and natural to share your gifts, and then share them.
Amen. Every single human being on this planet has a gift.
Not only they have a gift, but they are a gift themselves.
They are a gift themselves. All you've got to do is find out what your gifting is.
That's it. And that's one of the things I'm not getting into that, but that's what I help my students find out. What is the true zone of genius? What is a true gift? And then
your gift, you found your gift, Damon, and your gift is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's your gift to the world. And I bless God for you, and I bless God
Thank you.
You have found your gifting, sir.
And then once I help them identify the zone of genius and the gift, then we build their messaging, the offer, the podcast, and the business around that, so you can speak from the heart and connect heart to heart, so they can build rapport and trust. And we know that business is all about trust. That's what I do.
Absolutely.
But thank you for the compliments. Really deeply appreciate it from the heart, my brother. Thank you. Wow. I love how this has started. You like
Damon, I am no respecter of persons. One thing I've learned in life is I'm not a respectful person. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how much power you got. If you're a bad person, you're a bad person.
I agree.
No respectful person.
Yeah.
I respect you.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Same here. From my heart to yours, from my soul to yours.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. You like traveling, don't you? Thank you.
You are a good man.
Thank you so much. It means the world to me, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Wow, beautiful. Let's move forward.
Yes, sir.
You like traveling, do you?
I love traveling.
We can do an entire episode on traveling, but we'll do that another time. But right now, I want to take you down a different traveling down memory line. Go back to when you were growing up. You know, when we were kids, people around us, family, relatives, neighbors, teachers, friends, always ask us, hey, Trevor, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer to that as a young boy?
I want to have a job where I can wear a shirt and tie to work. And a suit.
Beautiful.
Because I didn't see any black people wearing shirts and ties and suits to work. So at a very young age, I knew I wanted to wear a suit and a shirt and tie to work. Didn't know what I wanted to be, but I wanted to, because I didn't see no black people wearing suits and shirts and ties to work.
Yeah. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in the UK?
I grew up in the UK. I was born in the Caribbean. I came here when I was 2. I grew up in the UK, but I grew up at a time, I went to school in 1965. I was the very first generation of black people to come into the UK, what we call the Windrush generation. My first day at Golders Green Primary School in 1965, I'll never forget it. It was the year Winston Churchill died. I started school, the Union Jack was at half-mast on Golders Green. And I was the only black child in the school. And the teacher introduced me. And during the break, a little white boy came up to me and said, "Can I see your tail? Because my mummy says you've got a tail."
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, a little girl came up to me a little bit after that and rubbed my hand and says, "It doesn't come off, it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off, does it? It doesn't come off." And I spent a whole week having people touch my hair, my lovely curly hair. That was my introduction to, hence the low self-esteem. Always thinking I was different, never understanding it, because your brain does not racialize until you're 7 or 8, in the way that your brain does not sexualize until you're 7 or 8, unless older adults bombard you with information that really at that age your brain, from 0 to 7, all your brain does is learn. It absorbs. This is how the brain works. It's what I teach. Neuroplasticity. And no child should have to be forced to think about race or gender or anything like that until they're at least reach 7 or 8 years old. But from the age of 4, I was made to know I was different. I was made to know I was different in a negative way. And I've spent a lifetime ever since, in some cases, overachieving to compensate for it. Well, I'm good now. I realized what it was all about. And, but yeah, that was my early experiences. And then leaving Golders Green, going into care, because I came from quite a dysfunctional family. My mother came from a very wealthy family. My father came from a very poor family, and it was a marriage destined for hell because of their 2 very different backgrounds. So I spent a lot of time in care homes, and my brother as well. So yeah, it was my formative years. I grew up very, very, very poor, very poor, very poor. I got my school uniforms from a social service warehouse where people sent second-hand clothes. And the social worker would take me there to go through those clothes so I could get a school uniform. Yeah.
Wow. So it's one thing for the students your age to be mean and all that, but what about the teachers? Were they more understanding? Were they more helpful?
The teachers, some were awfully racist and others were awfully caring. One of the most influential people in my life was Miss Lister. When we moved to South London, I went to Peckham Primary. Miss Lister was my teacher. And she gave me private lessons after school in elocution, and that's why I speak so well. And at the age of 7, she just kind of adopted me.
Wow. And
she gave me elocution lessons and taught me how to speak, putting the tongue between my teeth and all that stuff. And then when I went to secondary school, there was another teacher called Mr. Broughton, and he was a big influence in my life as well, albeit secondary school was virulently racist. They didn't want to educate us. Educating black boys wasn't on the agenda. What they did was contain us and encourage us to do, blue collar stuff. I got told, I told the maths teacher I want to be better at maths. He said, "Oh, don't bother. You don't need to be good at maths. You need to be good at woodwork and metalwork."
Wow.
That's the sort of racism that I kind of rose above, woke up to. So secondary school was an awful period. I was thrown out of school at 15. I got thrown out, excluded. And but I went on to college and got O-levels and A-levels. And then I started work because I needed money. I was 15 and I was on my own. I left home at 15. Well, I didn't leave home at 15. My dad sold the house when I was 15 and rented a room and paid 1 month's rent and went to America. So I was 15 and a half starting college. And I used to have to play brag and gamble to pay my rent while I was going to college. And I remember my breakfast was a packet of peanuts every morning on the way to college.
Wow.
Yeah, but I had a brain.
So you're going through all of this as a young child. What was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
No, I hated school, but I loved education.
Mm.
And I loved college because for the first time I was treated like an adult. In 1 year I got 5 O levels and an A level in 1 year. I had a brain that they didn't engage with. And that's a passion I have now. That's what drives me now. Education in the UK was institutionally racist. Some elements of it still are. And that's my passion. And it's why when I decided not to become a barrister, I went into education. Yeah, because I wanted to change education because that's what make or breaks you, David. I've seen so many intelligent young people go to waste because teachers did not apply themselves to teaching and they selected who they wanted to teach. So,
yeah. Wow. So when you were going to all of this, what was your favorite and least favorite subject in school?
Okay. My favorite subject in school was history and geography. My least favorite subject in school was maths. And that wasn't because I didn't like maths, it was just so poorly taught. I'm very good at it now, but at the time it was poorly taught. But I loved history and I loved geography because geography was all about the world. And I love history because history is all about the world. And stuff that took me around the world, that showed me the world, is what I love. Anything that taught me about the world. And I won quizzes because I could memorize all the capitals of the world. I did a project on Norway. I never forget that. And, I just loved all things geographical and all things historical.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah. But I was good at English language, commerce, economics. I was good at all the other stuff, but passion was geography and history.
Yeah. So imagine that we were in the same grade, say, and same class, say in grades 10, 11. What kind of student were you? Were you the shy and reserved one? Were you the nerd one? Were you the superstar? Were you the life of the class?
No, I was the frustrated one. I was the frustrated one. I was the one who always got into trouble because I kept saying to the teacher, could you explain it to me, please? I don't understand it. So I was branded a troublemaker. You see, Payman, I struggle. If I'm learning something, I need to learn it. And if I don't understand it, I believe I have the right to ask. Absolutely. And I believe if you're a teacher, your job is to get me to understand through various teaching techniques.
Yes.
And if you can't get me to learn, that's not my problem, it's your problem. Because I'm intelligent enough to learn. So when the teachers just wanted to skirt over issues and didn't want it, I was always put man up, please, sir, could you explain that? Please, miss, could you explain that? So I was the troublesome one who always wanted to learn. And that didn't make me popular.
Wow. And what did the students in your class think of you always having to ask?
I got along well with all of my peers because they were in the same situation I was. They just didn't have the courage to ask. So they're like dumb lemons, not learning anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was always that one. Could you explain that again, please? Could you run that past me again, please? When I didn't understand, a lot of the time I did, but I believed I had the right to question and to ask.
Absolutely. And because of that leadership role that you were taking in the class, did it come to you at any point to run for office, in the sense to be the representative of your school, of your class?
Um, yeah, it did, but unfortunately, when I went to school, representatives were not picked by their peers; they were picked by the teachers.
Oh, I see.
So that happens now, where they have democracy in schools. When we went to schools, head boys and prefects were picked by the teachers, and I was never going to be a prefect or a head boy.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very popular amongst my peers. Very, very popular.
So when you were in school, whether it's primary, secondary, high school, or even college, were you popular with the girls?
um, uh, from college. Primary, I wasn't into girls. At secondary, it was an all boys school. I got into girls at 14, 15, going to other girls' schools with my friends. But at college, yeah, I was very popular. Yes.
Good
Being
job.
honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. You mentioned that one of your passions is football. How did you get into football?
Because that's what everybody used to play. But if I'm going to be honest with you, my biggest passion is basketball, because
Oh,
I played for my school and we won the South London Trophy, the All London Trophy, and the All National Trophy.
mm,
And I had trials with England, and I had trial with an American club. I was good. I was really good. So basketball was my first love, because I'm tall and I was, taller than everybody else. So, but when I went to America, I realized I was one of the short ones. It got reversed. I was short. But in the UK, I was tall. So I love basketball with a passion. I felt honoured to be in the England squad.
yeah.
It was all amateur. But again, I mean, every child of my generation loved football. I mean,
Yeah.
literally every child loved football. And that's where my passion for football came. We'd watch Match of the Day on a Saturday. And we'd all have a team. And my brother was Liverpool and I was Man U, even though we lived in London. Because, I couldn't go to Chelsea. I couldn't go to West Ham. I couldn't go to Millwall. I couldn't go to any of those teams because they were just so racist.
Really? They will not allow you to attend the stadium?
God. Oh God. I mean, I remember trembling at Chelsea as a little 8-year-old. I trembled all throughout the whole game. People shouting nigger at me and all. No. And that's why a friend of mine took a group of us up to Manchester United, and I had one of the best days of my life when I was 9 years old, and I've been a Manchester United supporter ever since.
Wow.
No, I couldn't support any of the London teams.
Wow.
There wasn't. And then eventually, when I was an adult, Crystal Palace was the London team that I decided to support. So my team was Man U, but my London team was Crystal Palace.
Of course. Wow.
Which is where so many of your young and talented and gifted black players came from. Ian Wright came from Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
So many talented players because, South London, Crystal Palace opened the door for young black players, as it still does.
Beautiful. Wow. That is a powerful way to follow a team, by the way you treat it.
Absolutely.
That's indelible in your mind. Yeah.
When you're a little black boy standing on a terrace and people are shouting all sorts of racism and throwing bananas and, there's a chant they used to have, nigga, 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 oi, 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 nigga, 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 oi, oi, oi.
Wow.
I'm 8. I started to cry. I was scared. Never known.
Why do you think that?
Different now. It's different now.
Why do you think that you got a different, better reaction in Manchester versus London?
I don't have a clue. I
Wow.
don't know why. But I just went there and I was greeted, and there was no racism, and I was greeted with open arms at Manchester United. There was just no racism. I was just a fan. I wasn't a black fan. I was a fan who happened to be black.
Fish as a child, come on. What does a child know?
What does a child know?
Exactly, yeah. Let them keep the innocence for as long as possible,
Amen. Absolutely, absolutely. But that's what we do in today's world. We deprive children of their innocence. And in doing so, we grow a generation that has, that will develop major psychological issues and trauma.
Wow. Moving forward, do you remember what was your very first job? And do you remember how much you get paid the first time you worked in your life?
Yeah. My very first job was illegal. And
Okay.
it was working for, I was 14,
Wow.
and it was working for a restaurant chain in Oxford Street in the West End of London. And I got paid £5 cash to clear the tables and wash the dishes and clean the toilets. And so it was cash in hand. It was illegal because I wasn't old enough to work. And I'd work all day Saturday, and I'd work Thursday evening because that was late night shopping. So I'd leave school, get the bus, and I'd work Thursday evening from 5 till 11. And then I'd work Saturday from 9 till 8 o'clock when it closed. That was like an 11-hour shift. And I got £10 a week. That was a lot of money. And from that, I was able to give my dad £3 a week towards the gas bill. And I was able to help my dad pay some of the bills in the house. And I was able to buy the clothes and the records and all the stuff that I was into at that age. So yeah, old Kentucky restaurants. And I got a lot of food to eat. So
A lot of what?
I got a lot of food to eat.
Oh, I'm sure. Would you mind sharing one?
I used to love the spaghetti bolognese. And I'd also love the chicken and chips. But as I said, I grew up poor, Cayman, and I know what it's like there's a whole generation out there who haven't got a clue, but I genuinely know what it's like to go to bed and my dinner was rice and butter. So I know what it's like to be poor and to be hungry.
I can relate with that because I've been to my fair share of pain. Back in 2019, I was living in Hong Kong, trying to build a business in China. It didn't work out. I literally ran out of money. If it wasn't for a divine friend that allowed me to crash. Sometimes you meet people that are angels that would do more for you than even family would do, complete stranger. We met a couple of times, we get along, and then he said he has an Airbnb business. Hey, anytime you come in Hong Kong, stay with me, no problem. He allowed me to stay at this place for a year for free. For free. In Hong Kong, one of the most expensive cities in the world, like London or Paris or whatever. I was living on $20 a week. My happy moment of the week was going to McDonald's and getting the cheapest item, which is the cheeseburger.
Yes.
But check this, brother. On one hand, I was completely broke financially, but yet it was some of my happiest moments of my life.
Yeah.
And then I realized, hey, why is it disconnect? You need money to be happy. Because I was hosting events, e-commerce, business. I was meeting a lot of good people, a lot of good time, partying and all that. But yet I had no money. One other thing that changed my life is understanding the power of asking the right question. Back then I didn't know it, but then now when I look at this, I ask myself, what was this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn to that? Then I realized that I don't need money to be happy. When you realize that, you become very dangerous because nobody can threaten you, menace you, manipulate you.
Or buy you.
Yes. If someone says, oh, I'm going to cancel my contract with you, I'm going to fire you. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to call the cops on you. Here's my phone. You remove the power from them. You become dangerous, not in a cocky and arrogant way, but in a self-assured way.
You can't be bought.
Once you've gone through months, if not a year, of sleeping on a couch, living on $20 a week, which is not even 15 pounds, and you were still okay, not only you were okay, but you're actually happy, then you become untouchable, invincible. You say, is this the worst that can happen?
Absolutely, my son.
I've been in your shoes, brother. I know what it means. It was so bad at one time. Because I ran out of money, my credit cards were canceled, my credit destroyed. I literally had to ask my sister to book me a ticket to come back home to Canada from Hong Kong. I will never forget this day, Tuesday, February 25, 2020, when I landed in Toronto at the Pearson International Airport with only $200 to my name as a 39-year-old guy.
Yeah, that.
It's not a good place to be, but I never gave up. And by the grace of the Almighty and the God,
There where you are today.
I was able to bounce back. And what helped me to get back on my feet was two things, two realizations. One, understanding the tremendous power of question, asking the right question. And the second one was listening to that voice, to my gut feelings, to my hunches, to my intuition. Those two things completely changed my life and blessed me. The three most life-changing decisions of the last 10 years have all come as a result of me asking better questions, empowering questions, and not disempowering questions. And two, listening to my gut feeling, my intuition. If I meet you for whatever, whether it's a coffee, it's a business meetup, or even if it's a date, if I get a weird feeling, I have no issue just walking out.
Sure, me
Because
too.
I listen to that.
That's me. I follow my intuition.
Yes. You know,
Yeah.
so I
You know,
can
I tell people,
yeah. Say, go
I
ahead.
tell people, you know, I ask a lot of teachers, I teach teachers and lecturers, and this amazes me. I've taught hundreds of thousands of teachers, and I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
And I say to them, what does education mean? The word educa.
Oh, yeah.
Greek word, Latin root.
Educare.
And they mean, it does not mean to put in, it means to take out. You see, my philosophy is you already had it in you. It's my job to bring it out. You couldn't learn something unless you had the ability to learn. You couldn't achieve an academic qualification if you didn't already have it in you. It's my job to bring it out. Education means to pull out, not to put in. We all have it, intuition. We all have it. There's an inner spirit. We all have it. The job of a teacher is to bring it out. You couldn't get an O-level unless you had the ability to get an O-level in the first place. You couldn't get a degree unless you had the ability to get a degree in the first place. My job is to bring it out. It's not to put anything in.
I was having this exact same conversation before you with another wonderful lady from the UK. We're saying the role of a teacher, a parent, a friend is just to plant the seed in their mind. Absolutely. Guide them and help them come to the conclusion by themselves. Don't try to push your ideas on them because you will lose them. You will get resistant. But if you plant the seed, let them do their own research. Let them ask, what if this was true? What if this works? Let them do the research and come to the conclusion. It's going to be infinitely more powerful.
Absolutely. Let their intuition guide them. I walk into a room and my asili, my inner being, comes alive. And I can walk up to somebody and automatically their energy, this is not a good person, friend.
Absolutely.
Because we all produce energy. We all produce an energy.
We are energy.
We are energy. And when we're in tight spaces, our energy interacts, which is why I'm very fussy about people getting into my personal space. Because once you get into my personal space, our energies are colliding. And I like you, I can just walk away from somebody because I know you're no good. Your energy is rotten, you're no good. And that's what's taken me through my life. That ability, it helped me this week to walk away from a relationship. So, you know, that energy. So, yeah, I just keep working off of that. Sometimes it's hurtful because sometimes it's heart it's your heart over your head.
Yeah.
And sometimes the heart doesn't want to do what the head knows that you should do. But my friend, you must follow your asili, your instinct, because that is your spirit, that's your core, that's your blessing.
It's how we can connect to our higher self. Yes, there is a place, there's a need for outside expert guidance. Yes, absolutely. But then the ultimate wisdom is tapping into your inner side.
Inner side, yeah. We all know what's right and wrong.
You will feel it instinctively.
We know it.
I was invited to a business meeting with a very powerful business person, and people were excited because this meeting could take the business next level. As soon as I started talking to the guy, I had a weird feeling, and I just excused myself. People were thinking I was crazy. Yeah. But then a couple of weeks later, this person happened to have major issues with the law.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
felt it. I couldn't put my finger on it,
Yes.
but I knew it.
No, you can't qualify and quantify
No.
it. You just know it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't believe we have five senses. I say human beings have five senses. No, we don't. We have a lot more than five senses.
Oh, yeah.
Intuition is a sense. You know.
That's the
I think
biggest
that's
of all.
it.
Yeah.
It's the biggest. Yeah. That energy.
Absolutely. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's move forward.
Sure.
There's a saying that says, change your story, change your life.
Sure.
So when you're Trevor, you were at some of your darkest, most challenging moments of your life. How did you change the story internally to change your reality externally?
I think life circumstances happened to me, and those life circumstances impact on how I saw the world. So for me, it wasn't about me changing. It was what life threw at me that changed me. I was determined that my children were not going to grow up like me. That was my biggest driver. So when I met my wife, my children weren't going to grow up like me. They were not going to have the poverty. They were not going to have all of the rubbish that I grew with. And that was my biggest driver, that my children were going to grow with a mother and a father. My children were going to get the best education I could afford to give them. And it was state education, because I refused, as a state teacher, as a state academic, I refused to put my children in private school, because that's just being hypocritical. So I put my children in good state school. I was governors of those schools as well, to make sure people didn't mess with my children, and to give back. And so for me, that's been a big driver for me, growing my children up in the right way, getting two of my three daughters through university, being that model family, making sure my children did not have to go through what I went through. That was a massive, massive driver for me. And I had a wonderful wife. I was married 31 years. But circumstances were, unfortunately, I lost them. But at the end of the day, that was a big driver for me. I wanted to be that proper family. I didn't want to be that stereotype black man, the stereotype that applied to black men. I wasn't going to be that, And my children would go to school and there was Mr. and Mrs. Gordon, not a single mum, or a single father. So that really did shape me and drive me. And it also drove me in terms of wealth acquisition, because one of my daughters has a severe heart condition, a disability. And as such, when she was born, my wife had to give up her career. So we became a one-income family. So I had to really, really put the boat out and work to give my wife and my children the best possible life. And I'm pleased to say that as a consultant, I fulfilled that dream. They had everything they needed and wanted. So I don't feel unfulfilled.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. Thank you for not only sharing your story, but opening up your heart.
Thank you.
Really speaking from the heart. And this is what I teach my students always. Never speak from a script. Don't even speak from me, but speak from here. Because that's when people can really feel the authenticity, the genuineness, and that's when the magic happens.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Absolutely amazing. Wow. Let me, there's one thing I want to talk about, but I think that would deserve its own entire episode. And we'll do that in a future episode. Want to talk about your business and all that, but also the evolution. That would be an entire topic just by itself. The evolution of racism in the UK from the time you grew up to when you were a young adult to now, how it evolved. Maybe you can briefly skim over now, and then we can do an entire episode just on, because that would deserve it. It's full episode.
I'd love to do that. I was honored to write a chapter in a book.
Wow.
Black families as a site of struggle in the UK. Because there's very little work written about the Black family and the Black situation in the UK, our history. When you start talking about Black history, it's all American, 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 American. No disrespect to my American colleagues, their history ain't my history.
Absolutely.
I can't even relate to that. So I was fortunate enough to write a chapter in the book called Rites of Passage. And I took a spin on the word R-I-T-E-S, rights, and I spun the word to R-I-G-H-T-S. And I wrote about the situation coming and housing, education, the sexism, the racism. I wrote a chapter. It's a wonderful book. And so I have a passion of wanting to record for posterity the UK Black experience, not the American Black experience, but the UK Black experience. And I'm very knowledgeable on it. And also, you know, I think maybe it's time I wrote that book. So I'm going to be looking at that shortly as well, to write my own, to share, to write the book. I just hope I can find somebody who wants to publish it. But I have been published, and that's a seminal work. It's a wonderful piece of work, and it's a chapter in that book. And yeah, so I had the opportunity to really research and look at the arrival of Africans and Caribbeans in the 50s and 60s, and to begin to share their experience of getting housing, getting employment, racism. The new communities are now suffering, you know. It's now what you see the Eastern Europeans going through. It's exactly the same. When a new community arrives, they tend to all go through the same issues. So, yeah, but I'd love to talk about that, because that's my passion.
We'll do that.
I'm reading books about Black history that America.
Yeah,
America.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll do that in an upcoming episode. Absolutely, absolutely. Noted.
Yeah.
Listen, Trevor, absolutely honor. Let's call today's today. We'll definitely do, as I told you from the beginning, our first conversation, me and you, we're going to do more than one episode, because there's so much wisdom, so many layers, so many gifts that you've been blessed with. And my role, my job, my mission is to, how I can bring your gifts out to the world. How can I make you win? How can I make you shine brighter than you're currently shining? By sharing your story from the heart, by sharing your gifts. So far, we've only scratched the surface, and there's so many more that we will go through. And with time, we'll do that. So we'll do that next time.
We will.
If someone
For you,
wants...
my friend, anytime. For you, my friend, anytime.
Oh, pleasure on mine. Pleasure on mine. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
The best way to connect with me is my company. They can find me online. It's Gordon-French Associates Limited, Gordon-French with 2 F's Associates Limited. And you know, they're more than welcome to connect me through my company. At which stage, if they find my website, www.gordonfrenchassociates.com, they'll also find contact phone numbers, and they can contact me that way.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes. Listen, my brother, I salute you. You're treated with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world. Your presence, your impact, your smile, your sense of humor, your gifts, your height, literally and figuratively speaking, you know. How tall are you, by the way?
6'4".
Oh, yeah. Big guy, basketball. Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, I salute you. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with all of that. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you. And we're definitely going to be resuming our beautiful, wonderful, inspiring, empowering, and I'm sure goosebump inducing story next time. In the meantime, God bless, and talk to you very soon, my friend. As we say back home in Canada, have a fantabulous day ahead of you. Take care. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Payman. Love you. God bless.
Same here.
Bye-bye.